Welcome to Thana Bitcoin Meetup. This is Neeraj, and I'm also the owner of Crypto Freaks podcast. And today we have Mr. Vikram Nikkam, who is the owner of Instacrypto.in exchange. Welcome to Thana Bitcoin Meetup, Vikram. And I know Vikram from around 1 year. I first met him in one of the meetups. I still remember that was the first time I went to the Taj Hotel and actually attended the meetup, and that's where my journey started. I'm a crypto enthusiast, and I just love crypto. So rather than me telling about Vikram, I would request Vikram to introduce yourself.
Hi, Neeraj. Thanks a lot for inviting me over here on this podcast. Yes, I'm also a crypto enthusiast, just like you mentioned. And I think we met 2 years ago. It was 2016 meetup. Time flies. So yeah, I came to Bombay to have a physical meetup because that's where nobody actually could meet anyone in person. So I really, appreciate that my trip made somebody like Neeraj believe in crypto and then like start something like a podcast. Because that's how even I liked it when I used to try and find people to talk about Bitcoin. There used to be hardly anyone. So every time when I used to talk to people, they used to say like nobody knew about it. And then a lot of people were like understanding much better only when they meet in person. So the later I realized a lot of people online know about it, and when they meet me, they're like, "Oh, this is real," because till then they have not met anyone to talk about. So that kind of an experience I carry with my meetups, and it's really great. About me a little bit, I'm the founder of UnoCoin. This was the first ever Bitcoin exchange built in India in 2013. The way I got out of like my usual things that I used to do working for a company and things like that. In 2010, I moved out because by then I had understood about Bitcoin. For me, I looked into Bitcoin because I had assets in the UK and my assets just collapsed. My house prices just went down because of the recession, and I really wanted to know how this thing works and why did I lose my value in my house. I realized that there was control over banks, and the banks the control by the banks over the people in the UK was very high, like 97% of the people were being controlled by the way the monetary system works in the UK. And they pumped and dumped. Like, what do? They kind of like hyperinflated the house prices by issuing loans to people, everyone who can not even afford. So that just made a crash happen. And then when that was something that I was reading about, I came across Bitcoin, and people were saying you need an alternative decentralized system to actually counter this because there's no other way you can even imagine the way just banks are controlling. So when I looked into Bitcoin, I was like very fascinated, and I just wanted to switch over instantly. But it took some time, about 6 months, for me to believe in it, and then I switched over. I studied for a year with economics and finance to get much more understanding, deep understanding about really what happens in the existing financial and economic system, and how does Bitcoin counter that, and how does Bitcoin become better. By 11, I had all what I needed. I just needed a few bitcoins. I bought them through bitcointalk.org. That was the only other place outside Mt. Gox that you could buy, because Mt. Gox was the only exchange then. So my journey started from there. I just bought a couple of bitcoins. Then for me, I just wanted to try it out and test it. A little money that I had in PayPal, I just looked for a seller on the forum. And once I got a few, then I said, okay, this is my time now. Let me just start traveling. And that was initially my plan also, because that's how I found out the pricing of my house and everything had collapsed because I couldn't fund my travel then. Eventually, whatever that I managed, I started off with a few bitcoins. I didn't even bother about them. I just left them on my phone. If I remember right, I had already received like 8 bitcoins, and my last 2 bitcoins were still on the way. He said he sent it, and I was the last day of my packing. I just closed my laptop. After 2 years, when I opened my laptop, is when I received the last 2 bitcoins, and I was like, wow, this was just sitting there for me, waiting for my computer and my wallet to be switched on. And it was like a heavy wallet, right? It had to sink into the whole ledger. So I had to download the whole ledger in 2013, and then when the whole wallet synced, like it took about 8 hours. I could see my bitcoins, and then that kind of a thing. In between, when I was traveling, I did like about 15 countries, and I really wanted to see if there was any penetration of Bitcoin. I could meet anyone who I can talk to. Absolutely zero, right? There's no one that I could talk to about Bitcoin. It was only me that was telling them. I did not find anyone who already knew about it, and you could, talk to me about it and rebuttal or whatever. Zero. Actually, after all that, when I was eventually like trying to look online and see what was happening, why are there no people around, and I found a few in Bangalore. And it being my hometown, I thought, okay, this is the place I should go back now. Just let's settle. And I love Bitcoin. There are Bitcoin people here. That's it. Started meetups in Bangalore since 2013. By mid 2013, a lot of people who used to come for meetups used to say, "How do we buy Bitcoin?" Even though me and a few others, we were giving out free Bitcoins to people, like zero point zero 0.01 Bitcoin worth like what, 4.5, 5,000 now today. Were given out, handed out free for people who would download a wallet. So that kind of meetup when we were having, they wanted to understand where can I buy my bitcoins, because it was very hard to buy Bitcoin then in India. So we realized this first thing that we have to set up is an exchange. So my work with a couple of other guys were like hands-on to make an exchange in India, and it was Uno Coin, and we got a lot of funding for Uno Coin in 2014. Made it very famous, and still one of the best exchanges here because it did last this RBI trip, didn't it? So one of those things. Moving on, I built a lot of other platforms, or helped a lot of other platforms being built around Bitcoin. The last one that I have now is called Instacrypto, where Instacrypto is not just an exchange for you to buy small amounts of Bitcoin instantly. It also allows you to do remittance, which is going to be launched very soon. So you have friends and family abroad that are trying to withdraw, send funds to you over, Western Union, MoneyGram. I think gone are those days. You can just ask your friend to get some bitcoins locally if they register to the local exchange, and send it across to your account, to Instacrypto account, or they can have an account for themselves with their Indian bank account, and they're able to move value from abroad to India through cryptocurrency. And with this, there's a lot of advantage that you get it very quickly within 30 minutes. That's very, very important, because if you have your value instantly moved, that's a great feeling of confirmation when you call up and they say, "Oh, I've sent some money." Within the 30 minutes, you've not even had a coffee, and then your counterparty from other side or your bank itself will give you a notification to say that the value is received, the million rupees is received. That's a great feeling. It's a great experience to give for people. The next thing is, of course, the fees. The fees is very minimum. What we charge at Instacrypto is 0.05, zero point 0.5. I'm sorry, less than 1%, half a percent. So even if you pay 1% abroad to change it from local currency to Bitcoin, you're only paying 1.5%, which is very low compared to any other exchange. And also there is an advantage for you to bring it in crypto, because crypto is mostly at a premium in India. So you may fetch more money most of the times. 5 to 6% you will fetch on your Bitcoin or your crypto that you buy from abroad and bring it in. Some countries you may find it a little expensive, but countries like China, Europe, and UK, Western Europe, like America, you'll be able to find bitcoins cheaper, and eventually you get more money. Voila, that's what we want, right? We want to save on every bit that we can get, and this is just a simple process that you have to learn, because it's something new that we're not used to. Once we get used to it, there's no looking back, because we always like something that is cheaper and it's quick, and those kind of things is very advantages with cryptocurrency. So we try to use all that is beneficial for people, and then building platforms to eventually make the Indians stronger in terms of the monetary system, and bring them out of the financial inclusion, because we are in a financial inclusion, every one of us in India, because it's hard for us to do any kind of global business instantly. We can always do a local business, but once you start a global business, it's very hard to get regulators behind you, and customers from abroad, and the value transfer. All those things makes easy through a support of blockchain. And what best do we have on blockchain is a cryptocurrency. That's how the blockchain is proved that none of these cryptocurrencies lose value, and it holds what the merits that it should hold, and blockchain backs that up. And with the technology like that, why do we have to like wait and not take advantage of the goodies that's out there available? So with
Thank you.
my experience in cryptocurrency, I want to be now talking about a little bit of Bitcoin Cash, because a lot of people understand Bitcoin Cash is a fork of Bitcoin, which is exactly the clone. Also is an altcoin which holds value. But the advantage of Bitcoin Cash is the way they're developing it to scale, the way they're developing it to make sure it becomes a common currency for everybody, including the ones in the downtrodden and in the lower category people, where for small amounts, if you were able to send a Bitcoin or like a $10 Bitcoin, you don't want to be paying a dollar in fees. So here you want to save as much as possible. So Bitcoin Cash allows you to do those micropayments with very small fractional fee that otherwise Bitcoin as a master would charge. But we can keep that itself as an asset, and probably your Bitcoin Cash fits in very well in terms of value transfer and payments, settlements, trading tool, because you're instantly able to move it to trader and then bring it out and then transact for a lower cost of fees. Those things are an advantageous position for Bitcoin Cash.
Thank you for the introduction, Vikram. And
Thanks.
definitely, like I also understand that 1 or 2 days ago, there was a meetup for Bitcoin Cash that you had organized.
Yes. So the lead developer of Bitcoin Cash from Bitcoin.com, Gabriel Cardona, was with me, and we were having a meeting, an online chat to and talk about what's the real developments that's around Bitcoin Cash that we're missing out on the Bitcoin Core, because the developers on Bitcoin Core have lost the real ethos that was written down by Satoshi in the white paper. So what does Bitcoin Cash do to make sure that it follows the white paper is that it does, first thing, what it says in the white paper is a peer-to-peer cash system. So Bitcoin Cash makes it instant for everyone to use it as a cash system with less fees. Then comes with Gabriel that we are building a tool, a catalog of tools for people to use to build something on the blockchain of Bitcoin Cash. So we all know that Ethereum blockchain holds a lot of tokens and a lot of what developments in ways like IP, intellectual property. So uproof.com is something that was built on Ethereum platform, which allows you to record a document or a photograph, video, audio on the Ethereum blockchain to prove that it's yours. And that's the IP, intellectual property rights, given to you instantly for a minimal cost of like 6-7 rupees. That kind of a system is amazing. And we are trying to build that kind of a system on the Bitcoin Cash platform. Gabriel has got an experience of building Bitbox, where he's built a lot of developer tools for development of the online platforms, and here we bring him to, and he's building tools for Bitcoin Cash blockchain development. So you're able to now build in tokens, securities, and not just securities, your form of securities, which is your tokens itself, of course, but variations of tokens, and like how your Ethereum platform does. Uh, to build these, because we have already have some experience from Ethereum, he's building tools to make it easy for you to adopt to Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And those things will make the Bitcoin blockchain, the Bitcoin Cash blockchain, much more, what would you say, like easily accessible to all kind of developments. Then eventually it will have more adoption, more traffic, and more usage. So that kind of a thing was being explained by Cardona. I think it's already been worked on, and we very soon have some use cases being taking advantage of the great platform that we have, which is Bitcoin Cash blockchain. So that was what was the topic about, and I think everything else we already know how kind of regulations that's coming in across the world, and how East is more relaxed towards we would say Hong Kong and around, because Hong Kong is the new New York of the East, right? So that's where the maximum trade happens, and that's the that's the hub, that's the financial hub of the East and the world today. So that's where we have a lot of use cases of how these kind of crypto can be used for merchant adoption and any kind of like adoption with crypto. So Gabrielle was touring the East with South Korea and Japan, and of course, those are all also the catalyst to bring crypto in the East, and Bitcoin Cash being really popular there. He's loving his trip and enjoying developing and talking about the development on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain.
Okay. Great to hear news about Bitcoin Cash. I was actually checking out your Facebook page, and I saw that you were also a former ambassador to BitNation. Now, a few days ago, one of my colleagues, Shiv, had actually conducted a meetup for BitNation. But since you are very much experienced, I just wanted to ask you more about it. What exactly is BitNation? What is their idea? And
so BitNation is an institution which wants to make like a united world, right? So under one banner under one system of blockchain. So your BitNation is something that I worked on and supported them a few years ago, and at the time when BitNation was working on Ethereum platform, and where the token launch was going to be on the Ethereum platform, and it would have like diplomacy being set up on it. You would be able to get a passport which is recorded on the blockchain. So the Ethereum blockchain allowed BitNation to bring in a lot of forms of recording data and information of the global people on one platform, and you're able to now hold that as your future, right? Because if you understand newspapers today, if anything that is printed on the newspaper, if you're trying to reprint it today, they can always tell you, sorry, it's already been printed. And if you want a proof of that, you can go to any library and pull out an old newspaper, and you have that information. So the newspaper system gives you that information about who's first on this particular topic, or who has the better rights on it because he was before you. That you would know only because you understand, as we understand, what is the system of newspaper. If it was the beginning of the time of the newspaper, if you had to tell me something like that, I would never understand. But now today we know whatever is printed on the newspaper locally, you can get really verified by anyone around there. Libraries or offices who keep a record of this newspaper can easily tell you you're late, you're not the owner of this article, somebody else is, because they're printed on a prior date. And that kind of a system is what on the blockchain we have. And somebody who understood that first were the founders of BitNation, and I was very happy to be part of them because that's something that I had understood, and I wanted to be helping them out in this system of blockchain and integrating everything, all the information of yours, and that kind of a centralized system for the whole world, decentralized system, I mean to say, sorry, but at a one blockchain, where now when you talk about the newspaper example again, a newspaper is understood, but it is local only. Say a newspaper in Bombay will give that security for those people in Bombay. But if you talk the same thing in abroad about the Bombay newspaper, they may not understand because they don't know the system of that particular newspaper, how deep it is penetrated in Bombay, or how well it has been followed by people, and what is the real ethos of it. That's local. So a blockchain suddenly becomes global for everyone on a same scale, like of ease to put IP, like intellectual property rights and those kind of things. So those products were being used and built BitNation around it. Of course, this token system and everything is like how we already know of how a token is launched on in Ethereum blockchain. But over and above, this was the idea behind it to make use of the blockchain technology.
now to the favorite topic of everybody, about the scene in India. Okay, so rather than me asking you what is the status right now, so maybe you can start from the beginning. What exactly has been happening since you were, since you actually told me some time back that you had some talks with RBI when you were starting up. So, so they wanted to understand, and so you had talks with them. So maybe you can share some light about it.
So yeah, sure. I've been there, seen it, and I have talked to many regulators from 2013. So that's 5 years. That's a long time because people have 5-year plan, right? So in terms of when I'm saying 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people who would call themselves as a regulator or someone from an important institution in India, which a Bitcoin may affect in terms of, say, IT for income tax, if you're using Bitcoin for trading or day trading or week trading, you would be subject to income tax, right? So the IT department was one of the first ones to have a formal meeting. Before that were the people from banks and institutions, which are the parallel monetary system, and they were there at the meetups. Next comes, of course, the IT information, your income tax department. Then came the RBI itself. So the RBI, with a couple of bank owners, say MDs, or at a level where they are not even Indians, they are transnational people. They have a business of bank, of course, here, but they have offices and places everywhere. So those kind of people, along with RBI, were present at many meetings after that. They're just not everything, I would say. Of course, these regulators were important, but the future regulators, I got to meet them. They were from the law schools, they were from the financial institutions, they were from the schools where they had not heard about Bitcoin, most of them. And one of these financial institutions, not even 140 students and not one student had heard about Bitcoin. So when I was talking to these people, I loved it the most because those guys are open to understand the new technology and regulate it in India because they're the future regulators. We want them enlightened about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and that's what I love the most. Of course, with my experience with RBI and IT and everything, it's very clear that when even Mr. Arun Jaitley came out and said it about a year ago that after the price rise, like suddenly Bitcoin price shoots up in value, everybody's interested, right? So everybody thinks, what is this? Now it's touching my pocket. I'm a rich guy, but this is touching my pocket too. It's like it's worth 13 lakhs. What on the hell is this? So then Arun Jaitley comes out and he says, Bitcoin is not a legal tender, which we all know. Even gold is not a legal tender. It's only the rupees. So if you're buying a site or something, you have to pay in rupees. You cannot pay in gold and buy your site because if you have an issue tomorrow, you cannot take it to the court because gold is not a legal tender in India. Same as your Bitcoin is what he said. But clearly, he said that yes, you can use it for trading. You can use it for value for your asset holding because we are here to tax you through income tax department will take your cut from what you're making in your income or in your value gain that you do as an holding as an asset. So the capital gains that you get, you have to pay tax on it. You have to pay tax on your income. So very clearly, it's legal. Why are they not saying it? Is because they just don't uh, like depending on each other. Like what is RBI trying to say now to the banks? Not to the banks, to the Supreme Court, is that no, you don't have the right to regulate it. Leave the money matters aside. We will handle Bitcoin. No, why you want to get jump into it is because it's the control that they're losing and they want it back. They don't want a common person or a smart person from a Supreme Court judge deciding on the side of the public. Like, how can you give the power to the public? No, we want to control it. How can we give it out to you and then allow you to decide on our fate is what they're talking about. So clearly we can see it's about the control and it's about how RBI just takes instructions from abroad and from New York because New York regulates Bitcoin at a very high level and they have been issuing a lot of notice to a lot of people around all the central banks around the world to not allow Bitcoin at a mainstream. So that's fine, but you should understand it's a technology and it's the technology of the future. You cannot not have it. It's like every country is going to have Bitcoin, and India has been, controlled and not allowing its people to use Bitcoin. It's going to be jeopardy on how a future is going to be shaped around technology. So that kind of technology you have to allow. It's like that's I think a smart move from Arun Jaitley. At least he said it in thin line that very clearly. You just understand what's the other side that he said. But the media, of course, following somebody is like RBI because they are ardent followers of RBI, or probably they just don't do much of research of their own. They say that oh, Bitcoin is illegal. No, you didn't even hear. Nobody said illegal. It's just the understanding is a little less with the journalists and the media. So what do we have to do? We have to enlighten them. We have to give them the knowledge that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a technology of the future. Now today, just because we are able to use email and don't care about post offices as much at the time when emails were new, it's the same thing. It's the power that of sending and receiving message across, and communication was instant. And nobody cared about post office and how post office will shape out after emails. So even now, we should be worried about how banks, the existing financial institutions, are going to shape out after this. That's not for us to think of. That's for us to think of is how smoothly we can integrate a technology that brings in power back to people. It's we have a democratic country and we need a democratic currency. I'm not saying that the Indian rupee suddenly should get abolished and we start using cryptocurrency, but at least we should have the knowledge to see why other countries have legalized cryptocurrency, including payments and settlements through cryptocurrency. That means they know that the Japanese and the South Koreans and the Germans know very easily that you can tell who's made payments to who because it's transparent, it's available on a public domain, anybody can check it. And what does it say? It says that this is a nice system. This is a system that should be given to the public because the public are the users, right? India said first in 2013 they're going to do a wait and watch policy. Amazing. That's what I loved about it. But I think eventually they're controlling too much is because I would say they're not doing their own due diligence of finding out why Bitcoin is here and why countries like Germany and Japan and South Korea are legalizing it. Instead, they listen to New York, and the regulators from New York are not necessarily very happy about Bitcoin because I can clearly tell that in 2013 there was two conferences that was held in Toronto and in New York. Kind of similar people moved from one end to the other because those two cities are close to each other. And the regulators in New York were different to compare to the regulators in Canada because the regulators in Canada came out at this conference with open questions and trying to understand this technology and to see how well we can implement this technology in our country, in Canada, and use this technology. When that kind of questions were asked in Toronto, in New York was a different set of questions. In New York, the regulators were asking questions like, who made this Bitcoin? Why is this Bitcoin even alive? How can we kill it? How can we control it? How can we make sure that it is regulated by us? How can we make sure every transaction is monitored by us? How can we make sure that every transaction is then controlled by us and approved by us? So that kind of question, you can clearly tell that they are not happy with something like Bitcoin. And we knowing already that the federal bank in New York monitors and controls the rest of the central banks around as much as possible. Some are bigger followers than the others, of course, but they want to have that control of their currency being, managed by these other countries because their currency is the global reserve, and they want to put pressure on other countries to make sure that they follow their instructions because their global reserve will be used as a collateral against your country if you're like not listening to us. So that kind of threat has been passed around by to central banks, and their ideology has been moved around through that. So that's something we should know, that this is how some institutions in India work. So how do we get over it is because it's a personal knowledge. You have to do your own research and see why it's a better tool, a better currency, and better technology to be used, and why we should embrace it and learn about it, and then see why is the blockchain so famous today? It's because blockchain was made famous by Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin was an experiment on the blockchain. Because the experiment was so successful, as Bitcoin can hold such a great value, and it has a market cap, and it has transparency, it has truth, it has the real values of what Satoshi built. when you see all that, you should be able to judge. That's what I say to the Indian government, because after all this, you should know the Indian public are smart enough. You should not take people for a
Thank you for that.
ride.
I have a question from Pratik. So, Pratik, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Pratik.
Vikram. Hi. So I have a question about an exchange. What makes an exchange like a good exchange? I mean, what are the necessary features does exchange need to go like very well-known exchange in India or all over the world? And there is one more question. I have actually three questions.
Okay, let's
So the
start with
other,
one because then makes it easy
yeah,
for everybody
all
else also who
all
is
all
listening.
all three are very simple. Like
No,
what
it's
is
not about being simple. It's like for the listeners, when they listen back to our video, they should be able to
no
relate to
problem,
your question.
no
So I would
problem, no
say
problem.
a good exchange should have a company incorporation and a kind of a base very well set. The base gives that, what would you say, the confidence in the users. The second is, of course, I would say an exchange should not be responsible for people's Bitcoin. That's my thing. Maybe a little different to a lot of exchanges here, because a lot of exchanges give you wallets and you hold your Bitcoin in their wallet, right? So there are two like wrong things that may happen in this. One of them is that you don't understand about the technology. You're dependent on an exchange to hold your value, and you don't have your private keys. So that means you don't have your Bitcoin. The exchange is having your Bitcoin. You're not even the owner of your Bitcoin. So that's my ideology. That's how I would like to build an exchange. Is what Instacrypto is about. The next thing is the exchange itself. If the exchange is holding a lot of Bitcoin of the people, there has been instances that the private interest comes into play, and then they love to steal the money that is there in their own exchange. And a lot of cases has been happened so far of hacking in exchanges. Most of them, we call it internal, is because they get greedy, and then this kind of things happen. With Instacrypto, we wanted to get rid of that kind of system. So what we did was we don't even hold anyone's value or anyone's crypto or Bitcoin. So there is no liability, and it becomes easily trustable for people to just use it for a service, because that's what you want. What you do with your Bitcoin is up to you, because there are a lot of things that you can do with the technology that's available through Bitcoin. How do you acquire it is simply you should be able to pay INR and get your Bitcoin, is what Instacrypto does. With other exchanges, they hold your value, and then eventually it is open for hacking. Because why do I say that? Is because when you hold your own private wallet and then have your Bitcoin, these wallets are in billions and billions. Like, because there are many wallets, and many users of these wallets have downloaded many copies. It's very hard for any hacker to target specifically a wallet which he knows that thinks that there is value in it. But as soon as you know there is an exchange, you always know in an exchange there is always value. But if you put all your thoughts in cracking an exchange and entering into an exchange, it's easy to steal bitcoins. So that way, it's hacker. It's vulnerable to hacking, and then you lose your value. So that's what I think with an exchange, because I have a personal experience with UnoCoin. When I had value in UnoCoin, my number of bitcoins was the highest. But in UnoCoin, we set up a limit of one bitcoin on an automatic withdrawal. Anything more than one bitcoin had to go for an admin approval. So my 9.5 bitcoins that I had in my wallet was like try to withdraw by this one hacker from China. That's how my coder who's Satvik told me that that's how he found out that it was from China. The IP address tried to hack into our wallet. He came into our exchange, and then he was able to withdraw the 9.5. And the only thing that happened after that was that it went to an admin and didn't approve the 9.5. So at 6 in the morning, you get a call from Satvik saying that Vikram, you tried to withdraw your bitcoins at 4 in the morning. You could have just told me, we could have done it together. Because he has to approve, and we've got 2 steps, and then we won't test everything. Like, we want to check personally with our own funds to how it's going to work. And I said, no, I did not try to withdraw. He said, you have, because I have got a request from you to say that you need to withdraw and I have to approve it. And I said, no, I did not do it. He said, okay, let me just call you back. And then he calls back after 3 hours at 9 in the morning, and he says, Vikram, you know what happened? You've not logged in at all, because he can clearly check I have not made any kind of entry through my IP or through my login that I've usually been doing. He said, I've not logged in at all. So there's a third party who logged in from a different IP, tried to withdraw. If only that hacker had to withdraw 1 Bitcoin, he would have got it. Because he tried to withdraw more than one, he did not get that. And eventually what we did was we did send him 0.01. We were giving it free to many, meetup guys. So we gave this guy, because he showed us our site vulnerability. So that kind of a system happens. So this is just one of the ways how my experience is told about exchanges. It depends on how you use an exchange, because many people come in for trading. Many people come in for asset holding or value transfer or say payments. So exchanges can be used for everything, of course, because an exchange is where you trade to receive eventually your crypto or your INR for the other. In an exchange, you may have to spend more or keep more rupees to get or to trade. If you were using an exchange, which is a trading platform for payments, say you were trying to make 1,000 rupee worth of Bitcoin to be sent to someone, you want to buy exactly 1,000 rupees worth of Bitcoin. You cannot do that from an exchange because you have to put a little bit more money, trade with it, get your Bitcoin, then send. So that kind of steps for a payment person is made easy on Instacrypto. On Instacrypto, you come in, you put in 1,000 rupees worth of Bitcoin that you want, you pay 1,000 rupees, you receive that 1,000 rupees worth of Bitcoin. Sometimes it's for somebody, some other wallet that you have to send it to. You straight away give us that wallet where you need to see that Bitcoin at the end. If it's a payments, settlements, value transfer that you want to do yourself, you put in that address, you receive the Bitcoin directly there. There is no two steps. It's instant, and it saves one step of fee. A lot of things we worked out for users of how you would get, value transfer payments and settlements, those kind of people. And also for those who wants to hold it as an asset on paper wallets, they could use very smoothly. But as a trading itself, a trading platform will be great if you have an open book, and then you can see both sides, legit list of buyers and sellers. If you have fake, orders being put through those kind of exchanges, you may not get a good value for your trade. So look into those kind of things, makes it a better exchange. I hope I've given enough information about exchanges, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. You have given me all the information what I was looking for. There is one
Okay.
more question. Like, I am a customer of Instacrypto. I use
Okay.
Instacrypto, but for those who are not using it right now, like the people are using some exchanges for the P2P purpose, and they are. I don't want to take any name from the like for the exchanges, but I want to ask you one thing: is Instacrypto still live? I can buy bitcoins through the INR, or like what is the thing right now with Instacrypto?
Yes, through Instacrypto, you are able to buy cryptocurrency with INR. On Instacrypto, we have 8 cryptocurrencies listed: Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Those are the most popular ones that we have. We also have Bitcoin Gold, Wordcoin, we have Dogecoin, and Ethereum Classic, which is also popular in certain groups of people. We just don't have enough traction in India for that, of course, but there is a good interest. So these are the coins you're available for you to buy with INR. So you're able to register on Instacrypto within half an hour and link your bank account. We send funds to your bank account to confirm that your bank account is valid and able to receive funds without any issue. These things we check is because we are an instant cryptocurrency exchange where you send us the value instantly. We want to send you the crypto instantly. Same goes vice versa, because cryptos are instant. We want to make sure the INR is also. Because of that, we have a limited value that we set up our system on, which is now at 50,000. The idea is to move to 2 lakhs per customer per day. Right now, we are at the beta stage and we're testing a lot of things. You want to make sure we keep the promise, so we are going slow, taking baby steps. We want to jump into any kind of Bitcoin rush, because Bitcoins are very ruthless and they'll kill your exchange very instantly, because cryptocurrency is a new system. It's not easy for anybody to understand. We have seen it in the past. So Instacrypto takes it very smoothly and slowly, and this is how you are able to exchange. Yes, INR for cryptocurrency is given out to you within 30 minutes, and you can send your INR to Instacrypto bank accounts to receive cryptocurrency instantly. The value of it is, of course, for 50,000 rupees only, because this is where it really needs to be there to help the public understand this technology. We're not just trying to help people, a big trader, to come in and make a lot of money, because this is not a platform for you to make money. We are here to serve the public of India, to make sure they're understanding this technology by holding it, by using it, by feeling it, by transacting in it. Those kind of transactions is something which is very important for Indian public to try. So we're working on that kind of ideology and mindset. So Instacrypto still allows people to instantly transfer INR up to 50,000 rupees from the bank account and receive crypto for that. And it never stopped.
So one more question, like the way RBI has put in all the regulations to us, like, so is it safe to like buy or sell like bitcoins on Instacrypto?
Yes, it is safe. Like I said, Mr. Arun Jaitley himself said that you would be paying your what income tax if you're using it for trading. So your buying and selling of cryptocurrency is allowed for you to do it. There is no risk in it. It's exactly the same as your Indian rupees. You're allowed to do anything that you want with your Indian rupees, which is legally bound by the government. So if you're paying your Indian rupees to do anything illegal, that is illegal. The mode of payment could be rupees or Bitcoin or gold, but you paying for bad thing is a bad thing. So how you use your crypto is up to you. But to buy and sell crypto and to hold crypto as an asset, those kind of things is a learning process in the technology and itself. So those kind of things are not capped. So really, if you see RBI is coming down on those big volumes because you don't want to jump and allow people to big volumes because we've not understood how this cryptocurrency moves and works. So we don't want to allow big volumes to be traded and big volumes to be moved because people might use it for bad things. So that way, I can understand why big exchanges have been asked to shut down or been regulated highly in terms of the clarity is not with me because I've not received any kind
No,
of
but there are few cases where like people are using their bank accounts to send the money to any exchanges for like P2P purpose or whatever. So if I want to send the money to Instacrypto to buy a Bitcoin or any other crypto, whatever you said, the eight currencies, so I'll have to send those money through the bank account. So
yes.
there are people who have like their bank accounts got closed by their banks for the
Yes.
crypto payments. So my question was that, like, is it safe to do the deal with the Instacrypto, or I don't know, get my bank account get shut?
So again, like I said, there are about say 10 million users around India. Within 10 million users, you will always find a bad apple, right? So what did 10 million people do? They bought into Bitcoin. They paid with their INR and took some Bitcoin. But what did they do with Bitcoin? They did everything nice. They just hold it for a asset to wait for its value to gain. They were using for trading because they loved the trading because Bitcoin just moves instantly from one to other. So they love the trading and everything else that there to learn about the technology with blockchain. They were all doing it. So this one person comes around in that 10 million and he uses for something which is illegal. Eventually, whatever that is illegal, you pay with some kind of value. It may not be only Bitcoins. It can be with Indian rupees. US dollar is the biggest corrupt and blood holding currency. Even though it's green, it's actually red because it holds so much blood because it's been used for killing, it's been used for money laundering, it's been used for everything really huge. So if you compare all that, Bitcoin is like that's that kind of a thing you should be doing because that's where the big volumes of Bitcoin is being curtailed by these institutions. And when you're holding small amount of Bitcoins and you're moving around a small amount of Bitcoins, there's no real issue with using it for good things. That's what the remaining 10 million people are doing their Bitcoin with. They're understanding Bitcoin and technology. They're not using Bitcoin just to do something bad. If you're one of those persons, he must have got his bank account shut down. So that kind of a case is always there in any currency. So that's just one of the things that we should know and should learn that crypto is there for us to understand and take it to the future. And today you should not take advantage of it and try and think that it's anonymous and do things with it where you will eventually get caught because Bitcoin cryptocurrency is not anonymous. You should understand that that's the basic thing about cryptocurrency. It's pseudonymous in nature. What I mean by pseudonymous means it's like if you profile someone, you can still track him. Whatever that you try and do, it may take longer if you're smarter, but with short period of time, if you profile someone, you would be able to track through cryptocurrency usage because everything that you do with crypto is recorded online. When you use cash, like if you use 1,000 rupee, we don't even have the 1,000 rupee note. We have 2,000 rupee note with a satellite behind it of a purpose because we're great in country because we are better in technology with satellite. But then that 2,000 rupee note as a paper that we hold, 5 of them, you pay 10,000 rupee to someone we don't know for a bad thing, that's completely anonymous. That kind of an anonymity is only in cash, but it's never in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, it's pseudonymous. Whatever that use that you do in Bitcoin is tracked online. Eventually, you leave a trail. It all depends on how smart the other person is who wants to track you and how long does it take by profiling you. So, knowing that you shouldn't be using Bitcoin for anything bad or cryptocurrencies, you should understand that this is a great technology to learn and embrace it that way.
Okay, that's all for me. Like, and there's one more question. Like, how is the volume right now? It's increasing or decreasing? And what about the regulators? They are like very harsh on crypto in,
Okay, let's say
especially in
volumes
India.
first. So, because the volumes are a big thing to talk about. When you say what is the volumes now, the price of Bitcoin has, of course, crashed from 2017 end till now. The reason for it crash is because it's a correction period. When it's a correction period means Bitcoins have never touched this kind of a value before. It only touched this value from 2017 beginning to end. It jumped from $1,000 to $20,000. So now it is going to correct itself from that 20,000 to much lower, and then again go back to that 20,000 over a period of time, because this time will teach a lot of these newcomers who came in just this 1 year, because they came in only because of the price. They did not come in because Bitcoin is great. Bitcoin is an alternative. Bitcoin gives a lot of security and information and truth and transparency. They did not come for that. They just came because Bitcoin is worth a lot of money. So those people will learn for the next couple of years where the price dips and gains. So that's called a correction period. And that correction period, the adoption of Bitcoin may be less only because it has just jumped and dropped. But otherwise, on a scale of from where it was in 2016 to 2017, it has the 2 year increase of its transactions, of its use cases, of its technology being built, of its development around the world, of its wallets getting smarter, of its usage getting better, of its time getting shorter and instant payments, lightning network. Everything else is great. So the eventually the parts of crypto way that it should scale by number of transactions, all of that is getting better. So the value of it is low, but if you were trying to transfer 10 rupees in cryptocurrency, you were paying like 100 satoshis before. Now you have to pay 500 satoshis. That's all. Eventually, everything else is same. The market cap might be low, but everything else in terms of activity of cryptocurrency is all on a high. So, of course, the next thing we were talking about was the regulators. So, I got the gist of that question. The regulators are at a
Yeah, the regulators all over the world and especially in India.
Sure. The regulators all over the world is we know what has happened with South Korea, Japan, and Germany. They have legalized cryptocurrency, not just for trading and for asset holding, for also payments and settlements, because they know that cryptocurrency payments can easily be tracked and understood. And the more they allow people to use, the more they will learn, and they have opened their doors to it. And with India, with Indians being controlled by the federal bank from New York, they don't have the power to open doors to cryptocurrency yet, even though they have the chance to go abroad and learn from these countries. We've always learned from them, right? We always drive Honda cars. We still love Honda cars. They're the fucking smartest cars that we have because it gives a great pleasure in driving. We get this technology from Japan. Why didn't we go and ask them what they do with the cryptocurrency? Why didn't we just follow their footsteps? But that's going to take some time because like individuality with our RBI is not there yet. Nobody, one person is in RBI who calls himself as a leader of RBI comes out and can talk about it because he does not have the powers yet. He does not think that this is big enough to even break that shackles and come out and talk about it. They are all hiding because they are taking information from abroad and then vomiting on the people here in India and restricting Indian usage by bad speculating into a cryptocurrency. Those things have to be stopped by Indians themselves, like taking a trip. Like, come on, you can go. You're official, right? you can go to another country. We were talking about, I thought I read a lot of blogs about Indian group of people from many regulating departments were put together to go travel and find out why really crypto has been legalized in these countries. But later they say there was no group, there was nobody. So who said that first, and how did they print in the media? So there's all these things is very clearly we can tell this all a shambles because there's no real one person who can stand there on the top of RBI or the financial department who can talk about it. Who can say, yes, I understand cryptocurrency. We'll take some time to regulate it. We'll send some people. We know what they're doing. How can they do it? There has to be something. So let's go and find out. That kind of motivation is still not there with our regulators. Is because they're still government paid employees and they're worried about their loss of their job. Like, oh my God, if I just say something like that, I might lose my job and my pension. No, forget it. Who's going to bother about the public? I'm not going to do that. I have a job of being, director of the RBI, but I don't care. So that kind of attitude has to come out from the regulators. Only then we will see some real change. I'm not able to hear you, Neeraj. I think your mic is off. Yes, go for it.
Pratik, any more questions?
No.
Okay,
I'm here
Adarsh.
only.
Okay, thanks a lot, Pratik. It was great questions, and I think it's something that will be very needed for a lot of Indians to understand.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Adarsh actually has a question. He wants to know the business model. Can you throw some light on Instacrypto's business model?
So the business model of Instacrypto is very clear. We are here to develop according to the needs of the Indian public. We're not here with a premeditated system. We don't want to be because cryptos are not premeditated. We don't have any past experience to premeditate our business model and our ideas to implement on people. And we don't want to be just the followers of the rest of the world by just building an exchange and you're able to trade from one person to another person. You always do that. That's easy platforms. Trading crypto is very easy on a global platform. But we want to build something for India, for the public of India, understanding their real needs. The basic needs, of course, like I said, is for people to experience cryptocurrency and they have bank accounts there in remote parts in India. They should be able to send a small value in Indian rupees through their bank and receive cryptocurrency for that value and understand and use this technology. So every time when somebody is buying from Instacrypto, they are responsible to hold that cryptocurrency by themselves. Means they're already in that verge of trying to learn about the technology and hold on to this crypto to understand more about it because it's the future. We cannot deny that. We should be not think that it may not work. That's like really acting stupid, like closing your eyes and drinking the milk and thinking nobody's watching you. So that shouldn't happen. And then so we should think that this is a technology. Eventually, it's going to happen. So we are open doors for that. So that's how we eventually understood that remittance might help people in India to save some value. So on Instacrypto, we are integrating the remittance platform, which is going to be in just a couple of days. And that way we are developing our platform depending on the needs and the real social factors and economic factors of India, where we can help maximum number of people. And that's kind of business model I'll always love, because in India, if you can serve the public and you last a little amount of time, eventually you'll be strong and you will be bigger. You will be able to support a bigger community, because India is a big country. We are second largest in population. In terms of size, I would say we are the biggest in terms of the size and the number of people. I think China holds double the amount of space, but not double the population. So I think India is bigger in that way. Countries like China and all have an edge over cryptocurrencies because they were using digital currency before even Bitcoin came. That was called QQ. It was a social network and digital platform to move value around. But in India, we don't have something like that. We did not have something like that, but we do have now with the payment platforms built on UPI. UPI is the masterpiece. If I can explain about UPI, UPI is a brother to Bitcoin, because UPI has given that power to the Indians, which no other country has given their people that kind of a system to easily move value around. UPI allows you to move from one bank account to another bank account instantly within India. That kind of a platform, and then many add-ons like platforms that ride on UPI, like Paytm and your your Days and your Paisa Pay and your Beam, which is an Indian government app. So all of those ride on top of UPI because UPI has simplified something even the Americans cannot do it. Even though they have the platform, they will not do it because they don't like to give that kind of freedom to their own country people. Because they're their subjects. They don't want their subjects to be more stronger than they are. So that kind of a system is already there in India, and we are glad to have something like UPI. And with that kind of an understanding that we have, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got a little disturbance. So that's where we are. We're like a developing platform. Our business model is changing and improving every day, depending on what is really a need of the Indian public and what should be built next to support an economy like India to be successful.
Thank you, Vikram. I hope, Adarsh, that answers your question. Now, just wanted your reaction towards Zepay's closing down, as well as RBI's affidavit answer of four of the exchanges replying to affidavit of RBI. 4 exchanges came together and they actually have given a reply, and there was actually a 38-minute video done by Crypto Qanun, which actually looks after the legal stuff of crypto. So if you have gone through it, maybe some pointers you want to discuss.
So I don't want to mention too many details about it because we can read it, we can find all this information already. For me, it's great to know that there's a group of people, group of exchanges are able to get together and kind of like put a counter and rebuttal for what atrocities that RBI wants to go with cryptocurrency. And I'm glad there is some force behind it to make it clear that there is a group of people who love this at a higher stake, and they're investors, they're exchange leaders, CEOs, and great law firms who want to put together because they have a clear knowledge and understanding that this is something is for the future. If you don't allow this, you're limiting Indians, a whole 1.3 billion people, and that's not something good. So they're fighting against that. That I'm very glad and very happy about that. Come back to the first point that you mentioned before this. If you can repeat the question, please.
Yeah, it was about
Zepay. Yeah, that was the point. I had forgotten the question. So you did mention about Zepay, the first point. So about Zepay, I'm very sad to hear Mahin had to take a step like this. But I do understand that the big institutions with the regulating institutions, this is a classic example of how they corner and kill an SME. And this time it is by the regulators themselves. By not understanding a business model of a great exchange that's there serving a bigger platform, bigger group of democratic country, which is India, and there's people of the country. They should have understood the system and given a relaxed position to Zepay, which they didn't. And they didn't really understand that Zepay was like a too big to fail kind of a system, because if you fail that Zepay kind of a system, you're you're depriving the technology understanding for a lot of people who are its users. I understand if you think that they are not there to use the technology, they're there to make money out of it. They are traders, they are big fraudsters. No, you cannot jump into conclusion just because they're using an alternative cryptocurrency. Just because people use a lot of rupees, you cannot just jump into the conclusion that they're doing it for illegal purpose. That's wrong. You should have, understood that Zeppe is a great institution that's there who's serving public. You should relax them, give them some kind of restricted volumes, maybe say do it for 50,000, do it for 1 lakh. Keep your active, work process on. By cornering them, they were choked with the kind of staffing that they had and the institution that they had built. They cannot sustain it for a longer period of time without really doing any kind of business. You reduce the business, but not choke them to stop the business. So that kind of scenario happened. But these are the learning curves we have to learn from, and I think Zeppe had to be an example of that.
Okay. What do you see as the next trigger for Bitcoin to maybe go up? These are the options I can think of. Maybe number one, the Brexit happening in March.
Good. That's a good fluctuation for Bitcoin. Yes.
Second is halving happening in 2020.
Yes, great time for Bitcoin to gain in value is because if you suddenly half the number of Bitcoins produced for every 10 minutes, that means today's 1,700 Bitcoins will drop to what, 850 Bitcoins per day. The value of it has to jump. So that's a great thought that you have. I think that there will be a jump there and a fluctuation there. But go ahead. What's your other?
And the last one was, there was a recent article by one of the leading banks, maybe a financial crisis is coming in 2020. That's what one of these guys had said.
So yeah, that's true too. That I would say at the scale of which will affect the most, you've given the first one, which is the least affecting, but it's still affecting. The second was the halving. Of course, it's a good effect. But the third one that you said, the collapse of this financial system or the recession that is going to happen, will definitely give a bigger boost. And I think these three steps will definitely have a great fluctuation in cryptocurrency. The third and the final one that you mentioned, where the fall of the empire, that's the global currency, which is the dollar, has to see its fate below, because it has touched its peak. So now, after touching its peak, what is happening is, in many terms, that peak has been pushed by the users of dollar to make it look like the dollar is doing well. How do they push these limits of the graph? By buying back shares, by controlling other countries with their arms and ammunition, by with fear. Those kind of things is now being used to push the dollar value and the usage of the dollar, or the acceptance of the dollar globally, by more and more, and showing the worth of the dollar a little bit more. One of the clear scales that we see how dollar has been made to look good is the buyback in shares that they do by allowing these countries, or these companies indulge in quantitative easing with the federal bank, and eventually these are all the clear indications that eventually it's going to fall. Now, when the dollar really falls, or when you have that real recession, why does cryptocurrency gain in value? Why do you think is the real jump there and a spike there? What do you think, Neeraj? If I may, it's just a thing I wanted to know, if you know.
So, what I feel is, when the dollar value actually goes down, like when there is a war or some situation, people just want to maybe have some kind of security. So earlier it was the gold that they were purchasing, but now the Bitcoin, as they say, is the digital gold. So
yeah, well, Neeraj, you were spot on. You were spot on. So that's what happens eventually. That's that kind of a fall in global reserve currency happens. The smarter people would have shifted and moved their value out of the dollar and moved it to things like gold. Well, gold being the old form of the real value holder retainer, will definitely gain precious metal, and precious metals will gain value over dollar in that instance. There is also a lot of these other pockets which only rich people are accessing. What I mean by that is, you have assets in the form of paintings, arts, artifacts, stolen goods, international documents, whatever that those kind of like real things, and offshore holding of your value in different currencies, whatever that you think, those small pockets are now only accessible for rich people. Say a rich person now is able to put in millions of dollars in a painting that he holds before the recession, and after the recession he still gets his value back because those paintings will hold the value, because that's where they're storing their wealth and hiding their wealth from this catastrophe that's going to happen. So how does the local people, the public of the world, who are not able to access into that kind of a market, able to store their wealth and save themselves from this collapse, is cryptocurrency. So any kind of cryptocurrency you hold before this will spike in value and will give you the same kind of feature that you would have been able to buy before the recession. You understand what I mean? It's like your $1,000 worth of paper that you had of fiat currency of the US before falling, whatever that you could buy for the thousand. After it collapses, you're not able to use that paper. But instead, when you buy the same thousand worth in crypto and you shift that value to crypto and you hold it in crypto, the recession gives you a better value with crypto because now you're able to buy the same value, like the $1,000 worth of thing, or even more with that crypto, because you got rid of the paper just before the recession. So those things are an advantageous thing, and that's why crypto is a savior for a lot of people. So people who are already on the crypto ladder before the recession will gain value, and they will be the ones who will be able to save themselves compared to a lot of other people who are just dealing in dollars.
Okay.
Well, again, Neeraj, whatever you said, like I said, that was spot on from point 1 to 3. The fourth factor that will help crypto spike up is the time. This time is the correction time, and this correction time is the fluctuation that happens from the highest peak that he had touched, which is the $20,000, and the lowest it had started from. So in between the value that is there, the time taken for it to move slowly from that higher value to the lower value and to gain back to the higher value is the time that is determining its spike again. So if we have to learn what is the time frame from the past, because from the past of 2011, 2013, 2017 gave the spikes. Between that, what was the time frame? And that kind of a time frame, if you average it and calculate it, and if you read the history a little bit more deeper about the value of cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin, will show you the little path of how much time it's going to take for the next spike. And all these three factors will, be the catalyst for that.
My next question is, I always cover in my news that, or always hear in the news that, okay, these guys are launching a new tool for institutional investors because institutional investors are very much interested. ETF is coming. So can you maybe tell me or maybe tell us in simple words, how would the institutional investors and ETF actually impact the Bitcoin?
Surely, that's a great question. I think we know again this from the history that institutional investors were in the form of angel investors and small investors, and small believers of Bitcoin. Now we have bigger believers because most of the people are now seeing Bitcoin in 2017 of the price jump. Now they have a good time to have learned about it a year. So now that they've learned, there are more and more investors, bigger investors, institutional investors who want to come in. And the ETFs that you talked about. So they both are like in a similar format, like ETFs and institutional investors, because only institutional investors are able to dwell into ETF kind of a exchange or a platform, because it's a bigger platform. It's a big trading tool. Now you're using thousands and hundreds of Bitcoin to trade for a equivalent value worth of a plane or a yacht or a bar of gold. Those kind of trading happens through an ETF. So you're bringing in big players into the system of Bitcoin. What does that eventually do for cryptocurrency? It will spike in value. It will eventually spike in value because those people's activity will create a demand of Bitcoin. Those people's activities, whatever they do in terms of their activity with the large volumes of money, will be used by large volumes of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. which will again create a demand of need for Bitcoin. So as soon as you create a demand there, your value has to go up because there are X amount of sellers, holders of Bitcoin, hodlers, we call it now. It's a nice new word in the dictionary today because of Bitcoin. So these hodlers now say, okay, I have 10 Bitcoins. I will sell my one Bitcoin for next amount of value. Why should I sell my second one the same one? If somebody wants to insist on buying the second Bitcoin, I will price it double. Now you push the price individually to a price which is double of what was going. So a transaction or the economic activity that will happen with ETF and these institutional investors will definitely trigger or help the value of cryptocurrency to gain, and that's where that drop that's happening in the correction period will get back to normal or get back slowly to the $20,000 mark. Why? Is because they brought in the news about spike in 2017, brought in a lot of institutional investors. Now it's given them a year's worth of time to understand that this technology is here to stay. Now they are, because they're institutional investors, I'm believing 99.9% of them are smart to understand this kind of logic and history and the existing financial system. So they know that this will be big and they will come in slowly and surely to play into the space. When they do that, there is no doubt about it that the value will has to increase.
Next is about crypto jacking. Now, this is a term which is recently come in. Now, I understand you're already aware of the term, right, Vikram?
No, I am really not aware of this term. There is something even I have to learn about. Tell me about it, Neeraj.
Okay. Crypto jacking is basically where some hacker actually enters your computer and runs some mining software on your computer and mines Monero. And so,
okay.
So this has been happening a lot. So I just thought of asking you, how can we protect ourselves from that? But since it's new, I think the only way out is maybe shut down the computer, start after some time. Let's hope for that. Next was about Bitman IPO. Now, there were mixed reaction to it. Some say that a normal shareholder will also enter the crypto market, which is not good for crypto market. While others say, oh, Bitman, everybody is going to get into Bit. Everybody is going to get exposure for crypto. So there are two viewpoints on the same. So maybe I just wanted your viewpoint.
So the first viewpoint is that this will bring in more adoption. Right? What was your first point, did you say?
First point is this will bring in maybe a normal investor who is not maybe who doesn't understand crypto but just is only happy with the value.
So you're talking about the existing share market, dipping their hands into cryptocurrency now.
Yeah.
So you cannot stop that, right? Because what is existing markets giving you? Nothing, but nothing. Zero but a zero, sannata. So when you know there is nothing happening in the real markets, because what have you seen in the real markets now is a very small variation differences and opportunities. So when you have something like that, and then you have cryptocurrency, Bitcoin gives you big, fluctuations, big trading opportunities, big, future and big technology and big jump in price. So you cannot stop them now coming into dipping their hands into this, which eventually will help a global adoption. To say that whatever that institutions you're talking about, US did not stop their hands. What are those new institutions who came into play were like the futures market, right? So the futures market came into what did they do? They eventually helped Bitcoin adoption increase because they may not be using cryptocurrency, they may not be using Bitcoin. All they're doing is just allowing people to bet on some exchange of some value of an crypto, which the New York itself don't agree about. But you love that particular crypto to be used as the collateral for your futures exchange. So those kind of things you will never be able to stop. Somebody or the other will come around and use cryptocurrency for whatever type and ways of using this for any kind of trade, and implement this because they know their group of players that they already have now get another option of cryptocurrency, and they will love to implement it, and the new players will come in. So this is the time, the correction time, when new players come in and they quietly learn about it for over a period of time. Now that's where again time comes into the consideration of the next price jump, is because this is the amount of time. For me, I would say in the initial days, it would take 2 years for someone to understand cryptocurrency. Why? Because it's not an easy subject. It's a subject with mathematics, finance, economics, technology. You put in all this together and then you make Bitcoin. It's not easy for you to understand in one day. So it takes that amount of time, and they have the time now. This is the time, and then eventually they are playing with it with these other platforms, and then these other platforms also become strong enough, like an exchange today, and that will suddenly spike the value, because that's what again gives that increase in adoption. Increase in adoption gives increase in demand. Increase in demand gives it increase in value.
Okay. Now, one funny thing which I have observed, and maybe you must have also observed based on the meetups that you have done for the last 2 years, at least my interaction with you was last 2 years. There are the number of men adopting cryptocurrency is double the number of women adopting it. So I have not understood why. So,
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The men adopt to crypto? And
the men who are adopting cryptocurrency is much more than women adopting cryptocurrency. In fact, there was a survey that was done in US, and it was found out that more than 50 to 60% are men, while the remaining are women. So any particular reason that you can actually think of? Because I see the same in the meetups also. There is more participation from men as compared to women.
Okay, so you're kind of like seeing the same trend, don't you, in other markets also, like any kind of financial markets? I would say give me the core uses of Bitcoin. It's trading, asset holding, value transfer, remittances, payments, settlements, all that. So all these markets that we talked about just now, which Bitcoin is open to and it's been used in, the previous markets in the previous financial system, or the existing financial system, also has more men doing that. Have you seen a stock exchange picture in New York? Have you seen any women yelling there and then standing? How few do you see? It's the same number. It's just one of those. Suddenly, if you were talking about jewelry, we would have more women, because right now jewelry could be a great currency, because if two women agree on it and say value is 10,000, and if one was kind of settle the other person with 10,000, which says, hey, this is my jewelry, it's gold, it's bought from here, it's worth 10,000. Would you just take this instead of the 10,000? Two women are really happy, right? So we're not giving them what they want. They want jewelry. We're not offering them jewelry. At least in the previous past, we had gold as a medium of or the medium itself, because gold was the financial medium and was the tool for many years, thousands of years. So that time probably women would have been there, but then we shifted to fiat, and then I don't see many women in fiat. And the same I would say with Bitcoin. Even though Bitcoin is the digital gold, a few ladies who do understand, I have had a chat with them. They're very smart. They love Bitcoin. They've made great things about Bitcoin. They made music on Bitcoin. They have fighting for the corner for Bitcoin, or even helping those people who are working on Bitcoin. They're there in the background, but up front, in the face, you don't give them jewelry, they're not going to be there.
Now, the next question is, how is the situation in Bangalore? Because like when I conduct my meetups in Mumbai, I generally see that people are more into the money-oriented thing. Okay, how much is the Bitcoin price going to rise? They are interested in that. If you arrange, if somebody comes up with a blockchain event, they have to start from the scratch. So I understand the situation is completely different in Bangalore. Is that right?
Yes, I have experienced that myself. The clear meetups that I used to have, we used to have a lot of technology-related questions from them, from the attendees. There was many who would talk about Bitcoin and its core values and a lot of things about Bitcoin that is not financially, restricted. When I came to Bombay for the very first time on my meetup, probably 90% of the people were already aware of this financial system and say stock market and everything. So they were so knowledgeable over the financial things that they clearly had that kind of questions for Bitcoin. So the other part of it, I think they may have understood already. They know about it, but the idea of Bitcoin's value being traded, being fluctuating, being compared to financial institutions and stock market was very high with Bombay, because I think because Bombay has that experience of trading, because the BSE and NSE is based there, and the trading experience with Mumbaikars were great, were amazing. So of course you have to be master of something, right? So if you are already in that space, you are not very technically about it, and I didn't get many technical questions, but I did get that understanding of cryptocurrency is there for whatever reason that has been there, and whatever the reason that they want to believe in that. The monetary value, of course, took over, and like you said, it's two clear demarcations that we have: the technology side, which is in Bangalore, and the financial side, which is in Bombay. So that was a great experience for me, and it's something that you repeated and you brought my memories back. This happened to be about a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, I would say, when the first time when I came to Bombay to do a physical meetup. That's when I saw, okay, yes, I'm in the place where I can learn about trading and things which I cannot put my heads around in Bangalore.
Okay. Being a Mumbaiker, I'm dying to maybe spend my Bitcoin, maybe somewhere, maybe eat in a restaurant and pay in Bitcoin, or maybe spend somewhere. And I've heard that there are some outlets in Bangalore which actually officially accept that. So could you tell us more about it? Are there actually outlets in Bangalore, or it's just the news?
Well, I think there are a few, but the idea of having this accepted is not just in Bangalore; it's all over India. There were many people in North India, in Mumbai, in Bangalore. Everybody tried it out. Everybody still are open towards it. But who are they open to? They are open to the people to come and spend cryptocurrency in their institution, right? That is not there. So the people who hold cryptocurrency in India have found their cryptocurrency or bought their cryptocurrency or gained their cryptocurrency with a little difficulty. They didn't just get it easily. Because they didn't get it easily, they're not going to easily spend it on something that they can spend in rupees. You're coming to an Indian coffee shop, and why would you want to pay the Indian coffee shop with Bitcoin when you know the Indian coffee shop will take your rupees instantly? It's very easy for you to pay. Your cards are accepted. Paytm is accepted. Your Paytm is the easiest thing. Why would you use cryptocurrency? Why? Because to top up a Paytm, it's very easy. You're used to using it. But cryptocurrency is hard for you to get in the first place. And you have certain things that you can do with crypto that you cannot do with Paytm, which is trading, which is global value transfer. So those things, when you have an edge over a local payment, you wouldn't want to use your crypto for that. So that's the kind of mindset that I have seen with people. And it is a fair thing, because it's not easy to gain Bitcoin again back. Say you spent it for worth of 200 rupees worth of coffee on Starbucks. Can you just like replenish your 200 rupees worth of Bitcoin instantly for that value? No, you cannot, because there are limitations to gain your cryptocurrency back again. So those kind of things just put you on the back step, not because you don't have any other ways to pay. You have better ways to pay and easy ways to pay that you are used to. So you want to use something which is easy for you, not something that, okay, for an experiment, you want to do something like that. There are people who've tested many things. You have to be, ecstatically impressed about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and take that time to go and do a thing like travel on Bitcoin and use your 1 month in Bitcoin only. You want to go and make sure that your neighboring stores who you always buy from start accepting your Bitcoin. Let them use it as a small asset, but that are very few people, and that the matching of that few people to those few institutions or cafes which are offering you are not in the same vicinity or not in the same time sense or interest also. Say this guy is very interested, of course, but he drinks only say something else, not the coffee shop's coffee. So you're not going to force him to go and spend there. So that kind of disparity is there. That's because of the way the system of India is. Like in abroad, where a lot of people have moved away, like the gypsies, I would say, in the UK, they get called as jippos, jippolatas, whatever they've been branded as. The only reason they are being branded and neglected and also been pushed aside is because they're not on the banking ladder. So these gypsies, the 3% of the population in the UK who are like more or less are not on the banking ladder. How do they communicate with others financially, and how do their communication happen with value if they don't use banks? For them, cryptocurrency is a savior, right? So right there, those people will definitely use cryptocurrency. That kind of a scenario will definitely bring in cryptocurrency users. In India, we don't have that kind of scenario yet, and cash is still big in India, and we love to use our cash because many institutions and many businesses depend on it. So there's small changes we have to understand. Geographically, different ways of working with Bitcoin is different in different countries. China and East has proven that they're the masters in mining, and they can mine the whole Bitcoin for the whole world. Even though China mines maximum of the cryptocurrencies, need not be the leader in cryptocurrency because they're just miners. Users are everywhere in the world. Acceptance or merchant acceptance is there in a few countries only and a few cities only. The technology development is maximum in India, and we talk about that technology being developed and blockchain being explored at a great deal. So every country geographically has a different side of Bitcoin being used and different kind of Bitcoin adoption.
Now, like, how do you compare India's contribution to Bitcoin as compared to the world? As of now, and what do you see in the future?
I think India is a big contributor of cryptocurrency and its technology, and I think Indians are exploring cryptocurrency to show the rest of the world also that it's used in India in ways of how they're holding it as an asset or trading in globally. Indians are great minds, I have to say, because I lived in the UK 7 years. The people who flourish in any condition is Indians, and you give them a tool which is global interaction with value, they're going to use it for and prove to the public that there are many ways that you've not even thought of which can be done in India. जुगाड़ इंडिया में ही होता है, और यहाँ से जो experience आता है वो अलग ही होता है, जहाँ जो globally जो different होता है यहाँ पे अलग ही होता है. So that kind of a system will bring in great value for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash also for the future.
Lastly, in fact, this would be my final question. What will be your mantra to become a Bitcoin millionaire?
Oh, Bitcoin millionaire has to have the knowledge of Bitcoin. The knowledge comes with time. The time factor came in here again. The longer you spend with cryptocurrency, the better you get. And the future is not finished yet. The real time you should be able to use cryptocurrency to better your life should be at your retirement age, because anywhere else you work, your retired time does not provide you the same value that you were getting at the time you're working. So whatever the pension that you get after your retirement or you've set for yourself from your own business is worth peanuts really at the time of your retirement, because the inflation is taken over, and the New York is the biggest contributor to that. And through their system and manipulation and control, gets even Indian rupees into a little bit of inflation because of their manipulation that has been happening in the dollars. So with that scenario, you will never ever be a happy person or a content person after your retirement, because after your retirement, whatever you thought was a good value is piece of shit, because you don't really buy into, you can't even buy into anything. So what is your retirement time? Say 60, 65, you plan to live another 10, 20, 30. Man, I would love to live another 45 years from then, because why shouldn't I? I've seen my grandparents live long, 100, they've easily touched 100. Why shouldn't I? So if I'm thinking that long, am I going to survive with that pension money in that 40 years? No, I will kill myself before that. So how do I survive that 40 years after my retirement? Is by learning about crypto today. The more the experience I have, I will be able to, secure my future with cryptocurrency. That kind of security will never ever come with the existing system. Existing system is too rigged and too manipulated for you to take advantage of it. So those are the few things which crypto is far more superior for. So that kind of a thing is there for the future, because I see a future will be more old people than young people, because that's what the past or the other countries or the history, a little bit of knowledge that we know. Now that we have so much of technology like stem cells, which will make you live forever if you really allow it to be flourished. But the pharma companies are too big, just like the federal bank. They wouldn't allow these kind of new technologies to come in, because they want recurring business. They want people to be ill all the time. They should have the diabetes, and they've given it to you. You just don't know that who's doing this. They want to make sure that they get constant revenue from you. If you allow these kind of technologies which allow you to live longer, only crypto is your savior.
Okay. Now, just wanted to ask Shubham and Adarsh if they have any questions. Otherwise, Vikram, your last words.
Yes, because even for me, I think it's about time. I have something to attend to. 11 o'clock was the maximum, but I think if I can finish 10 minutes before, I would have that 10 minutes to to breathe. If you have any questions, shoot. I'm happy to answer.
Hello.
Hi, Shubham.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Shubham. Go ahead.
Yeah, and my question is regarding hardware wallets. So you should not store your cryptos on exchanges; they get hacked easily. So you should keep it in hardware wallets, or you should have the private keys of the cryptos.
Yes.
So there are paper wallets also. We have the private keys of paper wallets also.
Yes.
So why people prefer hardware wallets instead of paper wallets?
Oh, it's nothing. If you have a lot of money to spend, would you walk? You would take a taxi, right?
Yeah.
But if you walk, you will get even healthier. You get even get fresh air and a little exercise. But you still prefer to take a taxi is because you have the money. That's exactly the difference between paper wallet and hardware wallet. If you have the money, the same kind of feature that you get on a paper wallet, you buy it from a hardware wallet in a fancy new keychain styled piece of equipment, which you can talk about to people to say that, oh yeah, this is my Bitcoin hardware wallet. What does it do? It holds my Bitcoin. It's not connected to the internet. When I connect to my laptop, it actually signs off without the internet's need, and it can transfer the Bitcoins to my wallet to use it as a hard wallet, use it from the hot wallet. So the hard wallet that you paid and you bought is a little fancier than your paper wallet. Paper wallet is something which is free for everybody to print. It gives us the same kind of security. If you print out a BIP 39 or BIP 38, I'm not too sure about the number, I might have missed it. If you print out a paper wallet like that, that's even more secure than your hardware wallet that you buy, paying a lot of money. So it's all about your level of spending. If you can spend a little value, you buy in a hard wallet. You have something to talk about. You flash it and then talk about it, and walk around with it. Otherwise, you can just print a simple paper wallet, print it, keep it in your house, safe as your other one. So those are the simple differences. If you lose one, you will lose the whole Bitcoins. In ways that if you lose it physically, that particular hardware, whichever it could be, a device or a paper.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, Shubham.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I think Pratik is very happy. He's got all his answers. So good.
I got all my answers. Yeah, it was good. Pleasure meeting you guys.
Thank you very much, Pratik. and Shubham. And thanks a lot, Neeraj. I think you've done a great job. It was a good meetup. May not be many people, but that's all you want, because then you have a good, interaction.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. There are few exchanges in India, like P2P exchanges. I don't want to take a name of them. They are like telling us they have started an INR and deposit and withdrawal things with their partners.
Yes.
They have transfer the INR to. So is it like legal thing to do, or what is your views on this?
So if the exchanges are allowing you to do trading with banks, it is legal. That's how everybody is in the space. If it is not legal, your bank account.
No. They are not allowing us with their own bank account. They have told us like they have partners, few group of people, which they have a current account, and they are using their accounts to do the transaction for INR. So that's what my question was.
So I wouldn't say
they are giving some fees to them.
Illegal to buy or sell cryptocurrency, because none of the two that is involved in the trade are illegal or illegally being told that. So I wouldn't consider any of this transaction illegal, because none of the two things that is being used for that particular exchange is not illegal. So if the exchanges are coming up with their own ways of doing it, it's all about now the security risk of the value. And if the exchanges are giving you the security and confirming you that it is secure to do those, that's all you needed. If Indian government says cryptocurrency is illegal, then you may have that valid question that you just asked. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. I think it was a great talk, and I loved the questions. Again, I was pleased with the different side of understanding of cryptocurrency from Bombay. It proved that point again.
So where are you located?
I'm located in Bangalore, and I'm from Bangalore. 15 years I lived away from Bangalore, for about 4 years in Delhi, 3 years in Goa, then 7 years in the UK, working for the Hilton, and now.
Yeah, I saw that YouTube video with Shiv. I guess with Shiv only.
Oh, okay, great stuff. So that experience brings me back to Bangalore, the Bitcoin experience, and now I'm settled here, because it's not easy to set up any long-lasting and really value-built exchange in a year or two or instantly. So I'm going to take some time being in Bangalore. With all these experience and happenings around Bitcoin, build something really robust and long-lasting platform. For that, we need time. So this is my base now.
Organize a good meetup in Bombay.
Definitely, I will. My talks are with big people from outside. They want to come here, and Bitcoin Cash is one of my leads also, and we would like to do a great meetup in Bombay. Okay.
Thank you.
So I think it was a great meetup. Thanks a lot, Pratik and Neeraj.
Have a great night.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Thank you, Vikram, for your time. Also, once again, guys, if you want the latest news of crypto, you can actually check out my podcast, which is Crypto Freaks. Also, I'm also having another meeting on Monday where would be discussing blockchain and Bitcoin with VP operations of PT. So a very interesting meetup. So hope to catch you there.
Okay. So look forward to it. It was a great one, Neeraj. And the more you do, I'm happy to join in and talk about cryptocurrency anytime.
Thank you, Vikram.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
Guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.